You're listening to the T21 Podcast, brought to you by Down Syndrome Group of the Ozarks. Our mission is to bring life and wellness to families who are advocating towards a community of inclusion for individuals with Down syndrome.
Welcome back to the T21 Podcast. We are so thankful that you're joining us today. I'm Ben Ward, joined alongside my co-host Chloe Jones. We're very thankful to have you back this month. It was very painful last month without. No, I'm just joking. Great conversation last month.
I was sad to miss it.
Yeah, but we're definitely glad to have you back. This month, we are going to dive into kind of a difficult topic just because of the reasoning we're diving into this. So as many of our listeners probably know, recently there was an announcement made on social media by an influencer couple talking about how they had terminated their pregnancy because of a prenatal Down syndrome diagnosis, and why we are not going to go into details about their story or anything like that. We might reference it. We did want to hit on, prenatal testing, media representation and social media representation and the importance of all of that. And so we asked Amanda Bowden to come on and join us today. She's here with her son, Isaiah.
Yes.
And so we're very thankful to have them. So if you hear a little noise in the background, it's okay. It's just Isaiah. He's having a ball with us.
He's just over there playing
and hanging out with us. So real quick, why don't we just, Amanda, why don't you in 30 seconds or less, tell us a little bit about Isaiah.
Isaiah was a surprise child. He is our third child, all boys. And he is just the light of our world. He has brought so much joy to every single person he comes around. Mm-hmm. And he's honestly what brought us into this family.
Yeah. And we're thankful to have you, for sure.
Yeah, it's been a joy getting to know you and building our friendship. It's been so special. He's like the cutest baby. You don't get to see him, sorry, but he's a really cute, has like the cutest white mohawk.
Yes, and he's all over the DSGO stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And just little snippets.
Exactly. Well, so me and Amanda actually met whenever you had gotten your prenatal diagnosis, and then we have life groups that meet with DSGO, Down Syndrome Group of the Ozarks, and for our journey group, which is prenatal diagnosis through pre-K. And so you came whenever you're, how pregnant were you?
I believe I was 7 months pregnant at the first meeting. And I know I missed the next one because we just had him and he was in the NICU. But then I think we've only missed one since.
Oh my goodness.
It's that was just because everybody was sick.
Yeah.
Just normal life.
Exactly. But so we met whenever you're pregnant at the life group, which what was that like for you, coming to the life group, meeting all of those families, and also knowing you're about to have a little one for yourself? I
was so nervous for that first life group. I just didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how many people were going to be there, what families were like. Turns out a lot of our families are multiple kids. I don't think there's very many that are just single child in the home, which is great because they all grow up with siblings. Yeah. I wish I had a sibling growing up. And just once I got in the building, it just changed completely. Everybody was so welcoming, so just joyful, and seeing all the kids, all of them were just so loving and happy and kind, and just made me a lot more comfortable. I was ready at that point.
Yeah.
It's interesting on our side of things, like working with Down Syndrome Group of the Ozarks. It's rare that we meet moms and families that are coming with a prenatal diagnosis, honestly. We might get a contact form for a newborn basket, but it's rare that we actually get to build those relationships. So I remember when you came into the building, everyone was like, because we were looking at your kids like, wait a second, she doesn't have a little Down syndrome.
These aren't the Down syndrome
where is
kids?
this baby? So it was actually really, really special. And then and seeing your excitement.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that day because I talked to Cindy Lyons, who runs that life group, and she was like, how incredible that she's here before meeting him. Like, you're just preparing your family, preparing your world.
Exactly.
And that is admirable, because I know that's hard, especially when you're getting a prenatal diagnosis or getting a diagnosis of Down syndrome. I'm not going to speak for you, but from what I've heard from parents, it's very terrifying and isolating. And
It can be.
So stepping into that world, I'm interested also a little bit. What was your diagnosis story, if you don't
Well,
mind?
real quick, because
sorry.
no, you're fine. You don't need to
I'm
apologize
just like,
ever.
I have to know.
I think that's a great thing to begin with, because you just said he has older siblings that do not have Down syndrome. So you've walked through 2 pregnancies already that, as society, I'm using air quotes if you can't see, call normal pregnancies or whatnot. And so I think that's a great place to start is what, emotions, what thoughts, what, what was different and that type of stuff when you guys got that prenatal diagnosis.
So all 3 of my pregnancies had different complications. I am now 35, turning 35. So all 3 of my pregnancies have been since I was 30 or older, which is a geriatric pregnancy. Wow. But my oldest, Robbie, we had placenta previa. And so that was instantly into multiple appointments a month, and faster and rotating into multiple appointments a week.
That's what I had too.
So we had, the not typical pregnancy for the first one. And so I was kind of prepared at that point when I got the diagnosis of, okay, we're going to go more times, see this kiddo a lot more times. I love watching ultrasounds now. I really was like, if I ever go back into the work field for life, I might do ultrasound tech or something similar, because it's a whole different world you don't learn about until you're a pregnant mom. Micaiah, my middle, he was more of a typical pregnancy. So it was a lot less of the appointments. But with Isaiah, everything was normal up to about 16 weeks. That's when you get into the NIPT testing, like you said, which we were on pregnancy Medicaid that now covers. So they do the more in-depth test instead of just the standard Quest Diagnostics test that everybody gets. It was multiple vials sent to a specialty company, and it takes a couple weeks to come back. And I got this random email from Quest Diagnostics one day that I was like, what is this? I didn't know I had lab work done for them. Well, they had sent some of the blood to Quest, and it actually came back showing, I think 94% chance. 94% chance of T21.
Okay.
And then I was instantly into research. What is that? What is that going to entail? And at that point, my doctor had not called us. He didn't realize I got that result yet. So at my next appointment, which was 2 days later, I asked him about it, and he was instantly just kind of went pale, and then was like, okay, we need to have that conversation. And I was like, it's okay. What are we doing? What might we be dealing with? And he said, we actually have to retest because the in-depth test did not come back fully. So we retested. So we had to wait another 2 weeks. And at this point, I was pushing 20 weeks when I got the actual results of 97% chance of having T21. And so at that point, you're like, okay, we're going to have a kid with Down syndrome. And what's that life going to be? And it quickly turned into, I knew a kid with Down syndrome. I went to high school with one, and his life seemed pretty normal, right along with the rest of us. Went to high school, graduated, had friends, had family, laughs, smiles.
Yeah.
He was the life of the party.
Yeah, they usually are.
They seriously are. They walk into a room and everybody's just so much happier. They light up.
I knew that.
And it's so fun. Honestly, experiencing that every day. Every day. My older two, they are wild, and I would not change it for the world.
And they're obsessed with Isaiah.
They are obsessed with baby brother. And it's always Bubba, Bubba, Bubba.
Yeah.
That was probably his first word. You know, everybody wants it to be mom, mama, or dada. No, Bubba. And I really would not change any of our story.
Going back just a step, how was your experience with your doctor? What kind of terminology, if you can think of, or anything, was it? You know, a lot of times you hear about doctors, but probably more in the past than nowadays, talking about how it was, you know, not a good diagnosis or anything like that, to say it nicely. But what was your experience?
He actually knew we were anticipating the results for the second test. He knew we had seen the other blood results with a higher probability. And so he actually called us instead of asking us to come into the office, which they would normally do, especially if it's kind of a sit-down moment. Yeah. He called us on a Wednesday at about 4 o'clock. I remember that really well. We were about to walk out the door. And he was like, I need to talk to you. And I could tell by the tone. And I was like, okay. Whatever it is, it's in God's hands. And I heard him sit down and just relax, because at that point he knew he didn't have to push anything else, give us options. Yeah. We were ready. And I was like, no matter what it brings, we're going to work through it. And from that point on, he did kind of shift in his just day-to-day dealings with our appointments. I was then immediately moved up to twice a week. We would do ultrasounds once a week. The NST, where they listen to him and his movements for 30 minutes to an hour twice a week, because it's very common with Down syndrome that they move a lot less. Yeah.
They have lower muscle tone.
They do have lower muscle tone.
To wiggle in there.
I know. And he was so small. He was only born at 4 pounds 3 ounces. Okay. And so he had plenty of room to swim around. And so it was interesting. But like I said, I got to enjoy all those extra pictures, the extra little visuals, and listening to them than I did with my, typical kiddos. Even though Robbie's was a little less of a typical pregnancy too, it was just, not as fast going into the twice a week appointments. Mm-hmm. But
I think this just shows like representation matters. Mm-hmm. You knowing. So who she's talking about is Nathan. Yes. Who works with T21, which we've talked about several times. And hopefully he'll be on the podcast sometime, because he's a hoot. But definitely. Representation matters. Knowing him and knowing, you said before we started filming, you mentioned a few people on social media that you kind of rabbit holed into looking up and following and seeing. And
I definitely did. I went straight into finding Down syndrome support groups, which is how I found DSGO. Mm-hmm. And I knew that there was a community because I had seen some of the stuff from Nathan's family. Just in passing, I actually hadn't seen Nathan since we graduated. It was 15 years. And the first time I saw him, it was the best thing ever. He just lit right back up and knew instantly who I was. I'm like, Nathan, I haven't seen you in 15 years, dude.
And he was like, you graduated this year? You were born this year? He's like, oh, you're this age.
Definitely. Like, and it was so funny. I'm like, Nathan, yep, you were like spot on with everything. I don't understand how they can remember all of that. And all of our friends with Down syndrome that I have encountered, especially the ones that work here, or with the coffee truck, they are so smart. They are full of life, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. I actually make a point to just pit stop here, even if it's just for coffee, because I need that in my life. Not the coffee, the people. Yeah. And I wouldn't trade any of it.
And it's so fun whenever our friends that are working that have Down syndrome see Isaiah, and they're like, he's like me. Yes. So Sarah's like, he looks like me. I'm like, I don't think he looks like you. But
Isaiah is so drawn to individuals with Down syndrome.
That's special.
We ran into one at Just Bed the other day, and the instant he saw them, he was trying to jump out of my arms. He can't walk yet. He crawls very awkwardly. But, he was trying to get to them, and it was just like, he saw him before I did, because it's normal for me now. I don't notice that difference. Some people that don't have that in their life, they instantly know the different person in the room. And me, I'm like, who? Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like, it's just opened our eyes to a whole different world. And I love it.
That's awesome to hear. It's really cool.
You found DSGO, and then I actually delivered your newborn basket.
Yes, you did. We met. We met doing that. Yeah.
So DSGO provides newborn baskets. I'm sure we've talked about it on the podcast at some point, but they have informational books for parents. Then they have kids books, which is I think it should be full of. It's just kids books. Parents learn from those more. I think.
And my boys loved those kids books.
Yes.
We sat down. The 21 strings. That was one of their favorites when I was still pregnant with Isaiah. And it just taught them about, everybody's different. Everybody has different looks, thoughts, personalities. And that basket helped transition them into knowing something's different. And I remember having to have the talk to them about Mama's going to be in the hospital a little longer.
Yeah.
Because we knew I was likely going to have some sort of emergency something with that labor, and ended up going into emergency C-section. Isaiah did not like Pitocin. That was fun.
Does?
I know, really? Nobody. And so it was easier to transition having those materials that you guys provide. And I took the baby blanket to the hospital with us for him.
Oh.
The hat was way too big because he was teeny tiny. But
I pack those hats and I'm like, that's not going to fit these babies.
Most of our babies are really, really small, but they grow into them.
Yeah.
And it is great.
So it has the kid books. It has a little knitted blanket.
Yes.
And hat, sometimes little booties, and then some toys.
Absolute favorite thing in that, and I have shared this in countless groups, is that laminated sheet.
Yes.
It has all of the appointments that anybody could ever need to think about, whether your child has the heart problems, the thyroid problems, the eye problems, anything. Just having that sheet from birth to adulthood, just to remind you that was the best resource.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many people I've shared that to that are like, I need 500 of these, and we're going to hand these out to everyone.
Yeah. Because, your doctors are great, but they might not know every single test that someone specifically with Down syndrome needs. Yeah. So I'll actually include that in the description because love that resource.
Yeah. And when I took it to the hospital with us for labor and delivery because I wasn't sure what questions I would have to ask. He had a VSD in utero, and when he was born, it was gone, which is a miracle. But other things can happen. He now has a thyroid condition, which he takes half a pill a day. He's a champ. I would not remember to take anything. So the fact that I can remember it for him, that's definitely all him. And
I read a something on social media from a mother who had an individual with Down syndrome, who has an individual with Down syndrome, a child, and she was addressing the social media post that pretty much went viral, and was saying how a lot of the things that this couple was giving reasons why, all the mental and medical challenges that the child would face. The person in this post was basically saying there are people without Down syndrome that have these exact same challenges. Do we look at them as lesser of a person? Like, where, first of all, there's no line that should be drawn. There's nobody that's a lesser of a person. But for people with that mentality, where does that line draw for them? And it really kind of struck a bell for me, an eye-opening for me and things like that. Not that I agreed with the original social media influencer post at all, but it gave me another thinking point to think on, of how incredible these individuals with Down syndrome are, and how challenges that they face are challenges that anybody could face when they're born. So
the best representation I've heard of how our children with Down syndrome develop differently is you're on a highway. Speed limit's 70. Some people go 90. Some people have a slower time getting there. And that's the pathway between your brain telling your nerves what to do. And so with Down syndrome, the muscle tone is the brain is trying to tell your nerves what to do. But sometimes it doesn't connect all the way, or it just takes a little longer to get there. So, he's 18 months and pulling up, standing, he'll cruise on furniture a little bit, but he's not walking.
Yeah.
I have a nephew who's 7 months younger, 3 times his size, and is now walking everywhere. And they're on the same path.
Yeah.
They're going down the same road, just at different speeds.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that, when I heard that representation of it, I was like, that is very real. Yeah. Somebody can see that so much easier than saying, oh, they have low muscle tone, he'll never be strong. That's a lie. There are bodybuilders.
Yeah.
They are some of the strongest people I know.
Yeah, try to pick one up.
Yeah. If they don't want picked up, they are not getting picked up, okay? And, like you were saying, I mentioned some people earlier. There are other large presences on social media, Candidly Kind, the Brother Boys. They are so fun to watch.
Yeah.
They all have their sassitude. It's not attitude, it is sassitude. And they get that day one. And just the spice they bring to life is huge. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I feel like it's something that we all should have, but us typicals get suppressed. We get suppressed in our growth and told, this is how you're supposed to be. This is how you're supposed to act. But what if we could be who we wanted to be, the personality we could become?
I completely agree with
that. They
I
are
say
wide
that
open.
a lot. Like whenever I'm with someone with Down syndrome, that's my true self.
Yeah.
Like who I am with them is who I truly am and who I was created to be. So, yeah, I did want to say off of what you were saying is imagine whenever you find out your baby, you're having a baby, and your doctor tells you this huge list of here's everything they're going to experience in their life or they could experience in their life. Like the choice you make in those moments, that's kind of what we're seeing on social media. And so I think that goes for everyone.
Yeah.
I was talking to my husband about this the other day. Like, what if your parents were told that you would have cancer when you're in high school and you would struggle with this and you would have this problem and this, like what would they choose you still?
Yeah.
And so I think that's same with Down syndrome. When you get that diagnosis, they're not telling you all the joy you're going to experience or the squishiness of these cutie babies. They're telling you the hard parts. So I think that's where all of these resources that we've mentioned come in. Like, are you kidding me? He's so cute.
He's getting his 2 words in here.
Yeah. But all of those resources, we want to, as an organization, and why, like, on social media, Isaiah's speaking for me right now.
I know.
On social media, why representation matters.
Yes.
And to show, like, here is all of the joy.
Yeah.
Because you're going to see all of those things, but we want to show you this.
And none of us know what tomorrow brings.
Yeah.
We could have a completely different life tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Because of one little thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know if what today or yesterday looked like will ever be the same for tomorrow.
Exactly.
We've had podcasts about inclusion, and we've had podcasts about media representation and things like that. And we hit on some things like TV and movies and things like that, but we really didn't hit on social media a ton. And that's why I think it's so heartbreaking to read something like that. I don't know the challenges that they were going through, this couple. I don't know what they were dealing with. I could only imagine what they were having to process. And so I'm not judging them in any way, but it's heartbreaking that somebody feels the need, even as an influencer, to go onto social media and say something like that, because it really takes all the steps forward that the Down syndrome community has made. It really takes them back a step, because social media is king in this day and age when it comes to media representation, and to see something like that go viral. But I will say this, what I have loved seeing, I told you about one family I read about, but there have been several local families here in the Springfield area that I have read posts on through our Facebook chat groups and things like that for our community here within DSGO. Just seeing them talk about their child and how they wouldn't change a thing, and how it's a joy and a blessing to have that child with Down syndrome in their lives and things like that. And so it's also, people need to know that look, adults with Down syndrome are seeing this as well. And, you know, a child like Isaiah doesn't understand those type of posts yet. And I'll get off my soapbox, but he doesn't understand it quite yet. But an adult with Down syndrome understands what that post was. And I think it's important.
He's telling you to smile.
Yeah. I think it's important that we make sure that they know that they are loved.
100%. It's actually the reason I got into doing my travel the way I did. My mom's been a travel agent for years, has been trying to get me to do it. When I got the diagnosis, I was like, how can I help people who don't know what's there? Disability travel is impossible sometimes to navigate. And I wanted to help bridge that gap because I did not know what life held with him.
Yeah.
I was scared at first, but that first meeting was an eye-opener.
Yeah.
There's nothing to be scared about.
Yeah. Life
gives you whatever you need to get through the next day. It doesn't seem like that sometimes.
So good. So good. Well, Amanda, it's been a pleasure to have you on this episode. Chloe, before I close us out, anything you want to add to the conversation here before we close out?
I would just say that,
there's so much, I know.
Yeah, there's so much. I would just say, like, seek community.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's incredible. Like I said, when we saw you come in and you're pregnant, we're like overjoyed to celebrate you.
Yeah.
And so seek community. I know it's so scary. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of fear. And, but there's a lot of people that want to cheer you on.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that want to show you love.
Yeah.
And so seek those resources, and I'll have them listed in the description below as well.
Yeah. So if you're an individual listening or watching and you've gotten a prenatal diagnosis, you know, we want you to know that there's people there for you. You know, even if you don't live in the Springfield, Missouri area, we are here for you. To be an encourager and just help out in any way that we can. As you said, fear is normal. Questions are normal.
Yeah.
And find that community and you know, the door's always open on our end. And then if you're an individual listening right now who has Down syndrome, you know, we just want you to know that you matter and you are loved and cared for and wanted. And so,
and you make the world way better.
Yes,
that you're here.
100%.
Absolutely. So anyway, thanks everybody for listening and joining us today. And we'll see you guys next month.
Thanks for having me.
If you would like to learn more about Upside Down Mercantile, you can go to shopupsidedown.com or visit us on Commercial Street in Springfield, Missouri. If you have a topic you'd like to know more about, you can email them to info@dsgo.life.